I would like to, Dr. Zhang, I'd like to just share some of the house rules, and then before passing on the floor to you. So firstly, like I'd like to welcome Director Zhang and also everyone here to these sessions. I'm really honored to have like you here. And today is our third day of our conference on linking farmers to markets. And we had very wonderful discussions last 2 days on linking farmers to markets. So today is our third day. So many of our colleagues have attended this conference from first, second days. But for those who for the first time, I'll just share a few house rules. So for the speakers, please turn off your video and mic when you are not speaking. But whenever you are speaking, please turn on your video. And chair will be able to view your questions in Q&A box. But for the speaker, if you want to ask questions, you can raise your hands, and then chair will give you floor to ask the question. And for the participants who are not the speakers, the audience, you have to type your question on Q&A box, and our chair will look at those questions and pose it to the speaker. And consent to use without permission or compensations. This event may be photographed, streamlined, or video recorded. By attending, accepting connections, or continuing participation in the event, participants thereby consent to the possible use of their name, likeness, voice, spoken or written comments, or papers presentations in whatever form in all media publications, video sharing, website recording, disseminations, or other external affair purpose for the Institute without compensations or permissions. Disclaimer for presentation. The view expressed in the presentations are the views of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of or the policies of Asian Development Bank Institute, the Asian Development Bank, its boards of directors, or the government they represent. ADBI does not guarantee the accuracy of the data included in the presentations and accepts no responsibility for any consequences of their use. Terminology used may not necessarily be consistent with ADB official terms. Now I'd like to invite all of you to join for the photo sessions. Rotsan, can I pass the floor to you?
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for turning on your camera. Okay, so on the count from 1 to 3, please smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now, before passing on the floor to Director Zhang, I would like to give a brief introductions. Dr. Qin Fen Zhang, he is the Senior Director, Agriculture, Food, Nature and Rural Development Sectors Office of the Asian Development Bank. He is currently based in Manila, Philippines. Dr. Zhang is leading and overseeing ADBI's agriculture, food, nature, and rural development sectors. During his last 17 years of experience with the bank, Dr. Zhang processes and administers loan and technical assistance projects in green agriculture, value chain, efficient use of natural resources, land, soil, water, as well as agriculture waste, climate resilient agriculture, renewable biomass energy, healthy agriculture ecosystem, food safety, and internet plus agriculture. He published over dozens of knowledge products, op-eds, and blogs on agriculture, natural resource, and environment. Prior to joining ADB, he was director at the State Environmental Protections Administrations in Beijing, a senior environment specialist at the World Bank in Washington, and a research fellow at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Dr. Zhang is a Chinese national. He holds a doctorate degree in environmental engineering from Chinju University and a master's degree in water resource management and a bachelor in hydrology from Sichuan University. He was also trained at Harvard Business School through its executive development program. We are very honored and we are very thankful, Dr. Zhang, to have you. And thank you very much from all of us for finding time to be with us despite your busy schedule. With this, may I hand over the floor to you, Dr. Zhang?
Yeah, thank you so much, Raha, in the very kind word. Also, my honor to attend this very important discussions. Today's session, we have the 4 papers to discuss. But given the time constraints, as Rahan just suggested, we need to have the sense of the timeline. Each of the speaker, you have about 15 minutes, and each of the discussant need to keep your comments to the points, and try to finish your comments in less than 10 minutes. So before I move to the paper theme, probably just a say few words about country's program of ADB's food security agriculture program. Again, President Massa launched the $14 billion food security ambition in September 2022. We much focus on balance short-term response to food crisis, and same time is also the long-term resilience, address the challenges and the impact from climate change and also the biodiversity loss on the agriculture and food system. And then started this year, ADB introduced a new operating model. We're going to establish 7 sector office, consolidate all of the sector expertise under one roof. Now, agricultural, food, nature, rural development is one of the important sector office. We are consolidate all of the agricultural, food, nature, and the rural development specialists on one roof, and break the barrier of the regional territory, and also each of the specialists have the freedom and the flexibility to work across the region. And then we also established 2 important practice area across the sector office. One is natural capital climate, and another is the emerging area focused on digital agricultural, digital payment, and also climate financing in agriculture. And same time, we also now deepen the cooperation between the sovereign operations and the private sector investment. One of the key areas that we're trying to tap through the new operating model is expanded our partnership with one of the think tanks, including the ADBI, and also the many others. Of course, is inputs from our academies, researchers, very important, help us to achieve the sort of the 4 shifts under the new operating model. One of the new shifts is a solutions shift. That means we need to work together to get support from our researchers to support the agricultural food security and also sustainability of the natural resources. With that, probably let me kick up to start the paper 1, the paper 17. Paper 17 is a smallholder inclusion through cooperative country farming of the banana farmers in Davao and the Lotte, Philippines, a multi-frontier approach. The presenter is John Marks, came from the John is a research associate UWI School of Agricultural Environment, and he is also the assistant professor in the School of the Management and University of the Philippines, Medano. So John, you have closer to 50 minutes to present your paper. And after that, we will invite our discussant to share their comments. So floor is yours. You have the 50 minutes, John.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zhang. Can you see my screen, Dr. Zhang?
Sure, we can see it. We can hear
Thank
it.
you. Good morning, everyone. I'm John Mark Sarmiento, and I'll be presenting our paper, Smallholder Inclusion Through Cooperative Contract Farming of Cavendish Banana Farmers in Davao del Norte, Philippines, a Meta-Frontier Approach. So this is co-authored by Maria Feyrola Robson and James Fogarty of the University of Western Australia and Larry Diga from the University of the Philippines, Mindanao. I'd like to thank ADBI for inviting me to present this paper. So the smallholder farmers in the Philippines actually increased starting 1988 during the passage of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law. So from the 4.8 million hectare land to be redistributed to farmers, the government has achieved 58% already as of 2018. However, in general, it failed to achieve farm efficiency, but created many poor smallholder farmers. So one of the solutions to address this constraint is to link the smallholder farmers to the high-value markets through contract farming, and at the same time, it achieves a stable supply, particularly for the Cavendish banana. It also reduces production and marketing cost, and it lowers the transaction cost among smallholder farmers. These farmers are able to access high-value markets, and with the price premium, they can increase their profit margin. What's important is that these export-oriented companies are able to provide technical, financial, and input assistance, and the farmers at the same time can achieve quality produce and meet the food safety standards required by the export market. Now, the contract farming is not only common in the Cavendish banana, but as well as in other fruits and vegetables, such as asparagus, cacao, coffee, maize seed, palm oil, papaya, pineapples, soybean, tobacco, tomatoes, and trees. In terms of Cavendish banana, the land area is estimated to be around 50,000 hectares, and it produces 2.2 million tons of Cavendish bananas. Currently, it's ranked third in the world, and this large export-oriented banana companies has a major, not only historical role, but currently they have a major role in the Philippines in terms of helping smallholder farmers access these markets. Now, there are three types of market participation that's evident in the research sites in Davao del Norte. The first one is the independent grower, or those that participate in the spot market. They sell their produce in intermediaries such as consolidators and the middleman. The second one is the individual contract grower, wherein they have a direct contract farming relationship with the exporter processor, and usually they are large farmers. And the third one is the cooperative contract farmer, or the cooperative contract growership program, wherein smallholder farmers group together, form a cooperative, and access the export market through the export-oriented banana companies. Now, our research is to understand the role of the different types of contract farming arrangement and the performance of smallholder Cavendish banana farmers. Why this is important? Because this will guide policymakers and development workers on how to help smallholder farmers access and actually benefit from these high-value markets. So primarily, we use a technical efficiency approach, particularly the data envelopment analysis. Other approaches can be stochastic frontier function and the parametric input and output distance function. We both use the constant and the variable returns to scale, and the the options are either input or output oriented. We're using the input oriented because our goal is to maximize output given a set of inputs. Now, for the inputs, we collected the cost of fertilizer, pest and disease control, herbicides, materials, and labor. And for outputs, it's the revenue derived from Class A and Class B and cluster production. Class A and Class B are primarily for the export markets, and the cluster production is a mix of graded and non-graded banana products. We use a meta-frontier analysis. So usually a meta-frontier is applied when you are calculating technical efficiency of different groups, such as geographic differences, farming technologies, and farming and marketing practices, including contract farming. So the gap between the meta-frontier and the group frontiers, what we call the meta-technology ratio, explains the technology gap of the group of farmers. So a higher meta-technology ratio suggests a lower technology gap. We use Simar and Wilson's bootstrap data using the Simar-Wilson algorithm to package its data. So the sources of TE that we considered are age, women, household size, farming as main income, farming experience, education, land area, irrigation, owned capital, and the policy variable contract farming. Now, there's a potential for self-selection bias because companies select which farmers to offer contract farming arrangements. And the farmers will decide whether to accept or not these contract farming offers using their expected utility function. So therefore, there is a non-random assignment of contract farming, and it will result to self-selection bias because farmers may self-select based on their appropriate level of skills. So we use propensity score matching using PS Match 2 package to address this issue and match the variables. Particularly, our matching variables are age, women, household size, education, land area, main income source, experience, irrigation, and owned capital. So the summary of methods are: first, we complete the sample analysis. We handle the missing values using multiple imputation technique, particularly K nearest neighbors for age, household size, experience, and logit for married income source, irrigation, owned capital, and ordered logic for education. And then we applied the meta-frontier data. We estimated TE, and we identified the determinants of the technical efficiency using the constant returns to scale and the variable returns to scale models. And then we applied the propensity score matching. We matched the samples over the observable characteristics, and then we compared the individual versus non-contract farmers, cooperative versus non-contract farmers, and cooperative versus individual contract farmers. Finally, we compared the performance of the matched samples in terms of their production, revenue, and technical efficiency performance. The data was sourced from the World Bank and Philippine Commission on Higher Education Cavendish Banana Research Program, which is implemented by the University of the Philippines, Mindanao. We use a simple random sampling from a master list provided by the Municipal Agricultural Office. So the sample size is 200, but for this particular study, we use 186 usable sample because 14 of the samples did not divulge their marketing information. This was conducted in Santo Tomas, Davao del Norte in 2014. The marketing arrangements that we found are 28% are independent growers, 41% individual contract growers, and 31% cooperative contract growers. So as you can see from the summary statistics, comparing non-contract, individual contract, and cooperative contract, we used Kruskal-Wallis test to compare these values, and the level of significance are flashed in the right portion of the screen. And comparing without imputation and with imputation, practically the significant variables are the same. So the next table shows the technical efficiency and the meta-technology ratio of group and meta-frontier. Consistently, we found a lower meta-frontier technical efficiency than the group frontier T, which is consistent with the literature. And assuming constant returns to scale, the cooperative contract has higher technical efficiency performance compared to individual contract. And at the same time, the individual also has significantly higher performance compared to non-contract farmers. Using the variable returns to scale assumption, cooperative contract has higher performance compared to non-contract and individual contract farmers. So thus, what we can conclude is that contract farming, particularly for cooperative contract, they generally have a higher TE performance compared to their non-contract counterparts. Now, what are the sources of TE? Farming experience. This can improve their technical efficiency of the Cavendish banana farmers. And then education is adversely affected by the, or it has a negative relationship with the TE performance. Now, this means that it does not necessarily mean that if you have higher education, you are more technically efficient. As what we found in the research site, most of these cooperative contract farmers are composed of agrarian reform beneficiaries, and they have low education levels. And then the Cavendish banana farming as the main source of income also positively affects their technical efficiency performance. In terms of determinants of, yes, Dr. Zhang, in terms of determinants of contract farming, farming experience positively affected the cooperative contract farming participation. So the more experienced farmer, the more they're likely to join cooperatives and access markets through cooperative contract farming. However, education have a negative correlation. So this means that those who have higher education level are not likely to join cooperatives as compared to those with low education levels and access cooperative contract farming. The size of landholding also is negatively associated with cooperative contract farming. So this means that the smallholder farmers are more likely to join cooperative contracts and access cooperative contract farming compared to those with large landholdings. Large landholders usually are non-contract farmers or individual contract farmers. And irrigated lands is also positively associated with cooperative contracts. Finally, own capital decreases participation in individual and contract farming. Most of the farmers with own capital are non-contract farmers. So we compared the TE performance and the results are robust to different approaches of matching. So under constant returns to scale, meta-frontier ratio, the individual contract farmers have higher MTR ratio compared to non-contract and cooperative. The cooperative have higher NTR than non-contract farmers. And in terms of BRS MTR, individual farmers have higher MTR ratio than non-contract farmers. So what we can conclude here, since a high average MTR suggests a low technological gap, that means that non-contract farmers had a relatively higher technology gap. And so they have more room for improvement in order for them to improve their technical efficiency performance. And finally, we compare the production performance. So the production was highest for individual contract farmers, and this is followed by cooperative contract farmers. Both contract farmers have higher Class A bananas or the quality bananas. And then both individual and cooperative contracts also have higher revenue compared to non-contract farmers. And more importantly, the cooperative contract farmers had lower production cost per hectare than non-contract farmers. So this explains why cooperative contract farmers have higher technical efficiency performance, because they produce more Class A bananas and they also have low production costs. In conclusion, individual and cooperative contract farmers produce a greater proportion of Class A bananas compared to non-contract farmers. And cooperative contract farmers, which is composed mostly of smallholder farmers with low level of education, they also produce higher quality bananas, and they are more technically efficient than non-contract and individual contract farmers. The individual contract farmers who have large land holdings than cooperative contract farmers were also more technically efficient compared to non-contract farmers. So in order to improve the technical efficiency performance of smallholder farmers, it requires a concerted effort, particularly in the export Cavendish banana industry. The goal is to increase their Class A banana production at the minimum cost required, so that they can be more technically efficient. Now, in conclusion, the cooperative contract farming as a strategy for promoting inclusive value chain can be a potential pathway to alleviate the rural poor. thank you very much for HR for the John Orwett Fellowship and for the Days that World Bank and the Philippine Commission of Higher Education and the University of the Philippines, Mindanao. These are the references that I use in this presentation, and thank you.
Thank you so much, John, and also I agree for your manage time so well, and also very interesting paper. Let me now invite our discusser, Dr. Suganthi. I hope I pronounce your name is correctly. Dr. Suganthi is a manager, Department of Economic and Policy Research, Reserve Bank of India, central office in Mumbai. Her area of the research interests are agricultural markets, food inflation, nutrition, agri-food supply chains, sustainable agricultural goods, and also apply economic metrics. Is very clear, Dr. Suganthi, is the right person to provide the comments on this country farming paper. So floor is yours, Doctor. You have 10 minutes.
Yes, can you see me?
Yeah, we cannot see you. I can see your paper.
All right. I've already started the video.
Yeah, probably you go ahead and continue fixing.
Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you now. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. The paper was very interesting. And good morning from India. And the paper was very interesting. And the title of the paper is Smallholder Inclusion Through Cooperative Contract Farming of Cavendish Banana Farmers in Del Norte, Philippines, a meta-frontier approach. The presenter is John Marks Sarmiento. So to start with, the topic is, the topic assumes significance in the context of linking farmers to domestic and export markets, and it has always captured the attention of policymakers, researchers, both in national and international fora. And contract farming has, the literature has, sort of highlighted that contract farming has the potential to facilitate productive resources for farmers, for instance, providing credit or input services and price risk, assured output market, and so on. However, the success and the failure of contractual arrangements are very context specific, and it depends on diverse factors such as type of relationship, nature of commodity, external demand conditions, and many more. And there is huge literature on this topic. And also, the existence of different kinds of contractual arrangements in practice and diversity in outcomes actually highlights the contractual arrangements are more complex and nuanced, and we need more context-specific evidence to sort of frame policy interventions to make markets work for resource-poor farmers. In this context, this paper is very interesting. And against this backdrop, this paper studies the technical efficiency and production performance. The two outcome variables are revenue and cost of growers of Cavendish farmers in Philippines. The different category of farmers or individual contractors and the cooperative contractors and the non-contract farmers, they sell to the spot market as highlighted by the presenter. And the paper uses, random sample of 186 farmers. And the main finding of this paper is that cooperative contract farmers have significantly higher technical efficiency and revenue performance than individual contract and non-contract farmers across different returns to scale asymmetries. And the main pathway through which the cooperative farmers are doing better is by producing high export quality bananas and the associated price premium that they have realized. And these, especially this particular contractual arrangement is very inclusive because smallholder farmers tend to participate more in cooperative contract farming, and the export value chain seems to be inclusive. And the policy recommendation that comes out from the study is that cooperative contract farming models can promote inclusive, value chains and elevate poverty, rural poverty. So these are the main findings of the paper. Some of the observations are these, that the paper uses the data envelopment, analysis, and they also follow the propensity score matching to recognizing the self-selection bias. They try to match the contract farmers with the non-contract farmers based on certain, observable characteristics such as age, sex, and that was highlighted by the, the presenter. Basically, the comparison is made between individual contract farmers and non-contract farmers. There are three different comparisons. One is individual versus non-contract farmers, cooperative versus non-contract farmers, and cooperative versus individual contract farmers. So these are the basic observations from the, the paper. And I would like to mention that the paper gives the essential background of the study, and it has provided detailed, discussion about the study area. Then objectives are clearly stated. And the review of literature appears to maintain balance between supporting and opposing, arguments. And there is sufficient coverage of related literature, and has been it provides the context of the study. And the sampling method, random sampling from the from the list of farmers obtained from the village administrative office, which seems to be perfect. I have certain comments and suggestions. Basically, though the study gives a good, description of the study area and everything, the description of the study area may be given from the perspective of the availability of other marketing channels, because this specifically focuses on the contract farming arrangements, but there could be other, marketing arrangements, probably, and other infrastructure facilities, because we know that contractual arrangements tend to target those areas where there is, good infrastructural facilities in terms of market availabilities, or, conducive environment for producing specific varieties or crops. So maybe from that perspective, the authors may discuss or describe the study area. And the difference between individual contract and cooperative contract
Actually,
was not very
the 4
clear.
minutes away. Yeah.
Yeah. So that may be described. And, and also the description of the non-contract farmers may be provided as to what discourages from, participation in these contractual arrangements. And the explanatory variables such as experience and own capital may be explained a little further. And the standard deviation of dummy variables may be avoided in the descriptive tables, as it has no meaning. Maybe it can be replaced by, not available sort of thing. Any. And the study area has a long history of contractual arrangements for several crops. So what is the rationale for existence of non-contract farmers, and are there any discontinued, farmers? So that may be sort of highlighted. And further, the several factors that could drive, farmers' participation and welfare impacts that are missing in the study. That could be like tenure of contractual relationship, distance to markets, collection center, rejection rate, if there is any, then membership in any volunteer. Though the study covers the cooperative farmers, maybe, or there could be other, voluntary organization where farmers may be associated with, and some sort of community characteristics in terms of access to roads or markets or water tables that could be, used in the regression analysis or maybe discussed in the paper. The main one criticism that could come, that can be raised on the argument that the self-selection issues has been dealt using, PSM, because PSM mostly relies on observable characteristics, but there could be several other unobservable characteristics that could drive participation and outcome variables. For example, ability or management skills. So the authors may, sort of highlight. They have already explained why they have used PSM, but further they might do a robustness test using, some sort of instrumental variable approach, if there is any instrument available in terms of distance to markets or something like that, or even network effects, or association with any, or in terms of network effects or in terms of association with any voluntary organization. And in the case of propensity score matching, more non-participant farmers are required to achieve good quality comparison group, which is why most of the studies, they use extensive representative survey when they use propensity score matching.
You have the 30 seconds to summarize.
Okay, fine, thank you. So to resolve this issue in terms of self-selection bias, several papers in this strand of literature use instrumental variable approach. They sort of use distance to markets or or community distance to community head or the village head, participation in voluntary organization. These variables can, if it is available, may be used in this paper. And the coefficient of ATT are very large. The variables may be taken in, maybe it was taken in the level form. Maybe the authors may consider using in the log form to, because the coefficients are very large. And also the technical efficiency computed using DA, it may vary between 0 and 1. As per the available literature, technical efficiency, basically the determinants of technical efficiency, Tobit regression is generally recommended over OLS. So authors may sort of consider doing a robustness test. Yeah, these are my comments and suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suganti. Yeah, it's a very insightful comments. Again, we understand that contract farming is so essential to link the small farmers to the bigger market, and also it's an important way to organize the farmers. So we saw is one comment on the floor. Mr. Tamaso, floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, and a good presentation, John. So enjoyed listening to your paper, and also I think the discussant has also covered some of the points that I wanted to raise. But I think my point was around the DA part, because I didn't see your sample size. What motivated you choosing the DA over SFA, given that we know some of the limitation of DA, that it doesn't, separate inefficiency from the noise, other noise in the data. And then also, I guess that is from both the methodology, the first stage of the analysis when you estimate the technical efficiency. And then also there's other meta-frontier approaches, which are kind of based on stochastic frontier methodology, like Huang, and then lately the one that is developed by O'Donnell. So I just wanted you to maybe comment on that, or, maybe I missed it from the presentation. Thanks.
John, go ahead and keep your answer short and to the point.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suganti, for that very constructive comments, and thank you, Pili, also for your comment. So briefly, I'll address some of the comments raised. So I agree with Dr. Suganti that contract farming is very context specific, and I agree that in some cases, actually, contract farming did not work. But in this particular case of export Cavendish banana farming, it appears that cooperative contract farming are really working for the farmers. Now, for what discourages participation, we can actually add that in the discussion because we have the factors affecting contract farming participation. Yes, we agree we can delete the standard deviation for the dummy variables, and then yes, there are discontinued farmers. So there are two phenomena that's happening. Either the farmers discontinue after gaining some technical expertise in the producing Cavendish banana. In some areas, Cavendish banana farmers are they call it pole vaulting, or they're selling their produce outside the contract farming arrangements, or they're renegating with the contract. So those are and I agree that there are discontinuity and reneging farmers. So we can add that in our discussion. And I agree that we did not address the unobservable characteristics, and that's the limitation of the propensity score matching. And we may consider the log form as you have suggested. And for Pili also, yes, we did not consider the stochastic frontier analysis because of this. It has a very strict assumptions of the distribution, and the data envelopment approach is generally more relaxed in terms of assumptions. So, and with only 200 sample size and 186 usable, I think it would be better to use DEA approach than SF8. Overall, thank you very much for all of your comments.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a very good response. Yeah, considering time constraints, probably I take one more question. But keep your questions in a concise and short. And same time, John is also take note the one question from the floor, from our attendees asking about what is the comparative cost of the cultivation and the marketing, the profile and the input cost reduction, information excise, and also contract and uncontracted farmers. So again, is a compare the contract farmers and the non-contract farmers, how you are going to be distinguish the costs and also information excise and so on and so forth. And then let's take the final questions from the floor, and after that we need to move on. Mingjun, floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Zhang. So the comparative cost of
yeah, probably you collected the Mingjun's comments together and then you provide the answer. It's okay?
Okay.
Mingjun,
yeah.
well, you have the other, can you come to the stage? Mingjun, are you still there? Seems I saw the Mingjun raise a hand, but now is a disappear. Mingjun, are you still want to ask a question? I think there are issues with his voice. Probably need to move on. If you have any questions, just say, I have the offline discussion with Dr. John. John, go ahead to provide your answer for this question from the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Zhang. So for the information on the cost of cultivation and marketing, we actually have broken down the details of the production, the revenue, and the cost. But that's in the paper. We can share the paper if you're interested. And I think that's it. We have considered all of
okay.
most of
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great. And I know that this contract farming is such an important topic. We have the many other questions. Also from the floor, we saw is one of attendees was asking, how the paper are going to allow the impact of the market access to on the country farming. So again, I hope you guys have the offline discussions. Considering time constraints, we need to move on. Now, for this question from the attendees, John, you probably type answer from your end, quickly discuss with them. We need to move on. And now let's move to the next paper. The next paper is discussed about linking the farmers to the markets, that the cooperative membership facilitate the e-commerce adoption and the income growth in rural China. And now we have a speaker, Dr. Chen Chen from the Lincoln University, New Zealand. So Dr. Chen Chen, again, you have Dr. Chen Chen is a PhD student and the faculty of the agribusiness economics, Lincoln University. Her research area include the investigating farmers' decision in livelihood strategy, production methods, sales channels, and promote the environment behaviors from the social capital, utility, mechanization, and the sustainable development perspectives. So, Dr. Chen, you have 50 minutes. Floor is yours. You are mute. Can you unmute yourself? We cannot hear you.
Sure.
Okay, good. Go
Can you
ahead.
hear me now?
Sure. Yeah, can you?
Okay, that's good. All right. Okay. So can I start?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chen. I'm a PhD student in Lincoln University. So today I represent my team to present our paper, Linking Farmers to Markets, that cooperative membership, facilitate e-commerce adoption and income growth in rural China. The Chinese cooperative movement started in the early 1920s with the marketing cooperative and the credit cooperative. And after 100 years cooperative movement, it forms 4 levels cooperatives: the village, county, city, and the provincial. And in 2019, there are more than 95% of towns and villages in China have primary supply and marketing cooperatives. In 2007, Chinese government they issued the law of farmers specialized cooperatives, and after that, the cooperative population has a dramatic increase. And until 2020, there are more than 2.2 million cooperatives were registered, with over 100 million or 50% of rural farmers in China. E-commerce. Let me see. E-commerce is another method to linking farmers to the market. And as we can see from these figures, China has the fastest growth in e-commerce. And in 2020, the e-commerce sales as a share of total retail sales is up to 44% in China. And based on the reports from ADBI research in 2019, the numbers of Taobao village increased from 3 to over 3,000. Taobao village is the village that in that village, there are more than 50 households use the online sales to sell their products, and then we call it the Taobao village. And with the thriving of Taobao village, it's booming the farmers' income, and also it's booming the entrepreneurship, the new industrialization, and the governance innovation. However, although there are many significant benefits from the e-commerce adoption, the e-commerce adoption rate is also very low. So we are wondering, there are more than 50% farmers joined the cooperatives. Could the cooperative be the contributor to promote the household adopt the e-commerce? And if yes, how can they improve the household income? And so we go back to the literature, and we summarized the impact pathways of cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption and household income. And as we can see from these figures, cooperative membership can increase the household income through promoting knowledge sharing, decreasing production costs, or promoting technology adoption. And on the other hand, for e-commerce adoption, it also can increase household income, like from building product brands or improving the customer service. Also, there are some common channels for cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption to improve household income, such as increasing sales volume or decreasing transaction costs or increasing the sales price. However, the relationship between cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption is unclear. And as we can see here, there are many different types of cooperatives, and the supply and marketing could be the main one. And e-commerce actually is another way to help farmers to sell their products. And for e-commerce, there is no time and space constraints. And if the farmers, they can utilize the e-commerce well, actually they can use it to form the online and and offline sales synergies with the cooperatives. So in this way, the e-commerce adoption and the cooperatives could have the supplementary effect. And however, on the other hand, because of the multi-channel management cost and the high online sales cost and risks, the e-commerce for the farmers, they could not have the high willingness to adopt e-commerce and but rely on cooperatives to sell their products. So in this way, cooperative membership and the e-commerce could have the substitution effect. So in order to figure out these questions and their impacts on household income, we prefer to answer the two research questions. Will cooperative membership facilitate or inhibit e-commerce adoption in rural China? And secondly, what is the relationship between cooperative membership, e-commerce adoption, and household income? The data we use from the 2020 China Rural Revitalization Survey, which is conducted by the Rural Development Institute of the Chinese Academy of Social Science. This survey was conducted every 2 years, and now only the first wave data is accessible. So we use the first wave of data, which is covers 10 provinces, 50 counties, and 150 townships, and a total 300 villages. So after dropping the samples with missing value, we keep the 2,950 rural families in our study. The method we use is the conditional mixed process framework, or the CMP framework. Compared to other research methods such as the PSM or ESR, CMP framework can address the observed or unobserved characteristics in the selection bias. And also because we estimate those equations simultaneously, actually it can minimize the correlated the bias from the correlated residuals. So in our study, we construct 3 equations. In the first equation, we explore the factors influencing cooperative membership participation. And in the second equation, we include the cooperative membership into the e-commerce adoption, and also to observe other factors impacts on e-commerce adoption. And in the third equation, we include the cooperative membership and also the e-commerce adoption to explore their impacts on household income. And we use the instrument variable to address the individuality problem. So the dependent variable is the per capita total annual household income. And for the cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption, we use the dummy variable, and we use the IV is here. So for the IV1, actually is refers to, we can go back this page. So for the IV1, it is the instrument variable in estimating the cooperative membership and the e-commerce adoption. And IV2 is the instrument variable in estimating the cooperative membership and the household income. And for the IV3, actually it refers to the instrument variable in estimating the e-commerce adoption and the household income. And in our study, we use the percentage of village members getting credit from the cooperators in the same village as the IV1. And IV2, we use the number of intermediaries of household sales products. And for IV3, we use the expected household income changes compared with the last year. And all these 3 instruments of variable are past the Pearson correlated coefficients and the phosphorylation identification. So they are the valid instruments of variable in our study. Here is the control variable, and all these control variables comes from the previous studies. These figures shows the distribution of household income by cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption. As we can see here, compared with the non-adopters, for the household who adopt e-commerce has the significant higher household income. And more specifically, for the household, if they are the cooperative membership and they also adopt the e-commerce, they has the highest household income. In comparison, for the household who are not cooperative members and do not adopt the e-commerce has the lowest household income. This table shows the marginal effects of associations between cooperative membership, e-commerce adoption, and household income. And as we can see here, this is the result from our second equation. The cooperative membership has a significant negative effect on e-commerce adoption. This result indicates that for the household who are the cooperative members, actually, they are less willing to adopt e-commerce. However, based on the results from the equation 3, we can see both cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption has a significant positive effect on household income. So these results indicate that although the cooperative membership could crowd out e-commerce adoption, but both of them can promote or can increase the household income. And then we use the two-stage predicted substitution to do the robustness check. And in the first stage, we use the CMP to estimate our equation 1 and equation 2, but we do not include the cooperative membership into the equation 2 to minimize the bias. And then we predicted the possibilities of cooperative membership participation and e-commerce adoption, and then use the
you have the 4 more minutes.
Yeah. And then we use the predicted possibilities to substitute the original value and use the equation 3 to do the estimation. And as we can see here, both cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption can increase the household income. And this result is consistent with our main results. And also, we want to explore if there is a reverse causality between the cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption. So we use the recursive biovariate profit model to estimate their relationship. And as we can see here, actually they are not correlated with each other. So we can see there is no reverse causal relationship between them. So based on these results, we get through conclusions. Firstly, cooperative membership prevents the household from adopting e-commerce, but not the other way around. Secondly, cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption significantly increase the household income. And finally, although the substitution effect between cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption actually is stronger than the supplementary effect, but their joint effect benefits household income. So based on these conclusions, we get two policy implications. First, because of the positive relationship between e-commerce adoption and household income, so the local governments can work with the e-commerce enterprise to popularize the e-commerce retail knowledge so that the farmers can know the benefits about e-commerce and know how to do e-commerce by themselves so that they can increase the e-commerce adoption. And secondly, to minimize the crowding out effect of cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption, the local governments, they can utilize cooperatives to organize this e-learning and e-training. So in this way, it not only can attract more people to join the cooperatives, but also can help to increase the e-commerce adoption. And based on the limitation of our studies, there are several future studies we will keep doing. Firstly, we will explore the heterogeneous effects of different types of cooperatives and their impacts on e-commerce adoption and also their effects on household income. Secondly, to further explore the substitution effect between cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption, we will add the interaction effect between cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption, and also to explore their impacts on household income. Thirdly, because the cooperative membership could crowd out the e-commerce adoption. So we want to explore the potential inhibitory mechanism between them. That is my presentation. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chen. Now, let's invite our discusser. Moshajiko Rama is a lecturer from the Agricultural Social Economics Department, Faculty of the Agricultural Baywajaya University, Indonesia. He's a principal interest, research interest in the fields of rural development, impact variation, climate change, well-being, and also food security. So, Dr. Rahama, you have 10 minutes, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me and see?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Firstly, good morning from Indonesia. Thank you very much for the opportunity to give me opportunity to be discussion for this paper. The title is Linking Farmers to Market. Does the cooperative membership facilitate e-commerce adoption and also income growth in rural China? This is my summarize. Firstly, this paper investigate the link between cooperative membership, e-commerce adoption, and also household income. And this study used 2020 China rural realization and was analyzed using conditional mix process. The main finding for this study indicate that the cooperative membership prevent rural household from adopting e-commerce, but the cooperative membership and also e-commerce adoption significantly increase rural household income. I think this paper is really interesting and have a significant for policy implication and also for the literature contribution. However, there's some suggestion based on my investigation. Firstly, we studied from the abstract section. I think for the abstract section, it's better to rearrange based on the following part, including we can start it by introduction section and also research method that containing the research data and also the estimation strategy. Furthermore, the main result of this study following by policy implication. That's for the abstract. Let's come to the introduction section. For the introduction section, here the author has clearly emphasized the significant contribution of cooperative membership and also e-commerce in influencing on improving the outcome of smallholder farmers, such as household income. However, in the current paper, in the current form of the manuscript, the potential link between cooperative membership and also the adoption of e-commerce is not explicitly articulated. And I think for in this section, the author can elaborate more the link between cooperative membership and also e-commerce adoption. Thirdly, as we have known together that the e-commerce not only provide several activities such as selling for the farmer production and also purchasing input. My suggestion in the introduction section, the author can clearly state what kind of activity that focusing on this study, whether this is for selling the farmer's production, purchasing input, or both activity. Also for the research method, the estimation strategy is really strong for this paper. However, there's some issue that need to be considered by the authors. Firstly, the study collected data from various locations. I think is it possible to control the location fixed effect by creating a damage variable for each location. Secondly, the selection of the control variable need to be clearly explained in the research methodology part. As my investigation, there's some variable that potentially endogenous, such as e-learning, e-training, migrant work, and also insurance variable. Based on this variable, I think you can utilize the control function approach that have been introduced by World Trade 2015 to address this issue. And also, if there's endogenous issue, we can also exclude this variable that have an endogenous variable. Finally, for the as my investigation, this paper do several robustness check, but this not mentioned in the research methodology section. I think the author can mention the robustness check estimation in the research method in the estimation strategy part. For the result and discussion, this study have a lot of finding and useful information. But given the objective, the primary objective of this study is to investigate the connection between cooperative membership, e-commerce adoption, and also household income. I think it's better to include a section to discuss and elaborate more about
Dr. Rahman, you have 4 more minutes. 4 more minutes.
Okay. To elaborate or discuss the association between e-commerce adoption, household income, and also cooperative membership. For the section 4.3, it is need further discussion. Currently, the author only state what the study results. The value of the study need to be explained or elaborate more. For the conclusion of the study show the cooperative membership and e-commerce adoption significantly increase rural household income. However, the cooperative membership reduce the probability of household in adopting e-commerce. For the policy implication currently in the study is focus on how to enhance farmer skill and knowledge about the e-commerce, such as e-learning and also e-training. I think is it have a further impact on the reduction of farmers in participating the cooperative membership. I think there is a need to further enhance practical implication, particularly in light of current condition of the cooperative membership scheme, whether the cooperative can provide some attribute that can enhance farmer e-commerce adoption, or some attribute that can provide farmers to provide some e-commerce practice. Okay, that's all my suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rahman. Thanks a lot for your very useful observations. Again, I appreciate the informative study of this paper, and at the same time you also make some recommendations on the structure and also the presentations, and also some of rationale, and also the strength in the relationship between the cooperative relation and also the e-commerce. Again, let's say I heard the questions and comments from the floor. Our speakers, panelists, and attendees will have the other comments. But if they don't have the further comments, but Dr. Tseng, probably you quickly provide your feedback for those comments from the Dr. Rahman, and after that we can go for the next step. Dr. Tseng, floor yours.
Okay, thank you. And first, thanks for Dr. Raman's comments. It's very helpful. And firstly, I want to clear about our the key variable about the e-commerce. And in our study, we only consider the farmers who sells their products online, and we do not consider their purchase behavior. So yeah, this is the first point I want to clear. And then I really agree, and thanks Dr. Raman's comments. Yes, I think we need to clarify the collections between the e-commerce and the cooperative memberships. Although we find there has a crowding out effect between them, but I think because of the literature, the limitation from literature, so far we didn't clarify their relationship clearly, but we will review more literature and try to figure out why they have this kind of relationship and what is the possible mechanism between them, and also about their relationship with their impact on household income. I think we also need to further explanation. Now we just state they have the positive relationship, but we need the more explanation how and why they have this kind of relationship. And also about the control variable, I agree about, yeah, I agree with your comments. Yeah, the e-learning, e-training, we consider it because for the e-commerce adoption, the e-learning and e-training actually is a quite important variable from based on the previous studies, and so we included in our study. But yes, so I think we need to state more to explain why we included in our study. And about the migrant work, it is because when the farmers has the migrant workers, that means they have the less worker can run the online business. So actually the migrant worker is a quite important variable, and to whatever in influencing their e-commerce adoption and also on the household income. And there are many papers about the relationship between the migrant workers and the household income, and they show that if the for the household, if they have the migrant workers, normally they have the higher household income. So that's why we included in our studies. But yes, we need to explain more. And thanks for your suggestions about the control function approach. I think that is a very useful method to do the robustness check and to address the endogeneity problem. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for your comments. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. for your very insightful feedback. And you guys probably have a offline discussions how to further incorporate and also further communicate on those comments. I know that we don't have the further comments from the floor. But again, I thank you so much, Dr. Cheng and Dr. Raman. If we still have the time after the next few papers, we will come back to you guys again. So probably let me move on to the next paper. The next paper is talking about synchronous farmers and more from the selling online. Is also related to the last paper, e-commerce. Our presenter speaker is Dr. Zhang, Heping Zhang. Heping is a PhD candidate in College of Economics and Management, Huazhong Agricultural University, and his main interest is on agricultural economics, covering topics such as income, efficiency, and also sustainable development. Dr. Zhang, you have 50 minutes to present your paper. Floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Yeah, I will share my screen. Wait minutes. Please, could you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Pardon. Hello, Professor. Can you see my screen, my slide?
Yes, we can see your slides.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, I will start. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm He Pei Zhang. I'm so glad to present my paper in this conferences and report my paper. And the title of my paper is "Can Social Farmers Earn More from Selling Online?" And I'm a PhD candidate in Huazhong Agricultural University. And currently, I'm a visitor PhD at Lincoln University. This is my outline, including 6 parts. The first is introduction, and then is background, analytical framework, data, empirical results, and the conclusion. The first part is introduction, and we know connecting farmers and the market are very important for improving rural income, but there are so many barriers like inadequate distribution channels and high transaction cost and information asymmetries. And those barriers make agriculture unprofitable. And we know online sales is a very important way for address those barriers because it can provide faster, more in-depth and interactive information, and which helps to expand sales scope and reduce information asymmetry and lower transaction cost. And some study focus on online sales and shows that online sales will improve farmer lives, like farming returns and off-farm employment and entrepreneurial skills and subjective well-being. Especially some study focus on income, but the results remain mixed. Like Li and Qin showed that Taobao village increased household income, but this program adds to less than 1% of Chinese village, and which is hardly representative. And Pen shows that the e-commerce improve rural income, but the impact is different in different areas, with inverted U-shaped in poor area. And culture shows that e-commerce did not affect rural income. So we can see that the results show that further research is necessary. So we can get our objectives include 2 parts. The first is we want to discuss the factors that affect online sales adoption. The second is explore the impact of online sales on rural income. Meanwhile, we can get some contributions. The first is, in order to capture the spillover effects, we consider different income like net returns from search production and net farmer income and household income. The second is we define online sales in a general sense. It means farmers' online sales behavior rather than a special case. The third is we adopt the endogenous treatment figuration to address endogeneity. And then the second part is background. We select the searches as our objects. The reason is that search is one of the most popular fruits globally, and Chinese search output and planting area are the highest globally. And we can see the second is Brazil, and the third is India. The output and areas in China is far more than second one. But the problem is that Chinese search price was only $16 per ton in 2021, lower than India and Iran's. The price in India more than 500, and the price in Iran more than 200. So increasing search price is very important for rural income and the world status of Chinese searches. Jiangxi is one of the 8 searches planting areas in China and contributed to 8% and 11% of output and planting areas in China. And Chinese searches commercialization is 88 in 21, but only 56% in Jiangxi. So it means that the commercialization in Jiangxi need to improve, and the online sales are essential way to increase the price and commercialization of searches. And this is about online sales. Online sales developed by 1990s, and many global companies emerged like eBay, Amazon, and Alibaba. But according to this figure, we can note that global and Chinese online sales maintain steady and rapid growth. Meanwhile, we should note that in rural China, online retail sales were 2 trillion yuan in 2021, and in which 400 billion yuan was traded in agricultural products and accounting for only 9.8% of total agricultural products transactions. And the Chinese government plan to increase this value to 15% in 2025. So optimizing online sales for agricultural products is an important task for the Chinese government. And the next part is analytical framework, and we can see this figure. Theoretically, online sales will impact income in 3 ways. The first is reduce the number of intermediaries, and that can reduce transaction cost and profit loss, and that can increase the income from selling searches. And the second is online sales can ease market information acquisition, and that can increase sales price and volumes. The third way is online sales will generate spillover effects, and that can increase other agricultural products income. And the spillover effects also include increase of farmer work opportunities like packaging and delivery, and that can increase the off-farmer income. Finally, the farmer income and the off-farmer income will contribute to household income, which is the focus of our study. And the next is our estimation strategies. We know farmers are not randomly contract for online sales, but adopt this by their endowments. So endogeneity may exist. And we know there are so many strategies can address endogeneity, like PSM, IPWRA, and ETR. But we know PSM and IPWRA can address the endogeneity of observed factor, but neglect unobserved factors. And the ETR model can address endogeneity of observed and unobserved factors and helps to estimate unbiased results. This is the ETR model, and in the first stage, we were analyzing the impact factor of online sales by Probit model, and the second stage is analyzing the online sales impact on 3 types of income by OLS model. And then is our data. The location of our survey is in Jiangxi, China, and the serving time is 2022, and we collect a total of 1,009 samples, and after data cleaning, we reserved 926 samples, and we can see some picture. This is search tree, and this man is picking searches, and this is search factory. And next about our variables. We can see the first read frame. We can see that 3 types of income are 3,000, 5,000, and 30,000 yuan respectively. And the online sales sample accounted for 15% of total samples. This is our control variables, including individual, household, production, and location characteristics. And this is our result. According to the first read frame, we can see that education, risk attitude, and location are significant. And about our instrumental variables, network fees and PSS are also significant. And over the identification test, it means that our instrumental variable is appropriate. And in the third read frame, we can see that the online sales increase net returns from searcher production and net farmer income and household income by 5,000, 8,000, and 70,000 yuan respectively. It means that unless has not increased the net return from such a production, but also generates the spillover effects. And in order to understand the effect in different groups, we conduct disaggregated analysis, and the coefficient of farmer is greater than males.
Peng, you have 4 more minutes.
Okay, yeah, which means that online sales have more positive effects on females than males. A possible reason is that females have better marketing skills and they are more patient and more careful in communicating with customers, so they can get better results. And in the second rate frame, we can see that the coefficient in different locations are also significant. This is suggesting that the positive effects of online sales is consistent in different regions, where there are some difference in the coefficients due to natural and economic factor. And the last part is concluding remarks. We know that online sales increase net returns from search production, net farmer income, and household income by 5,000, 8,000, and 70,000 yuan per capita. And disaggregated analysis shows that online sales have more significant effect in female than males for 3 types of income, and online sales affect net returns more in Ganzhou than that in Fuzhou. And concerning net farmer income and household income, online sales have a great impact on Fuzhou than Ganzhou. And our policy implications is that the government should consider enhance the relevant infrastructure to support online sales, and the policymaker may consider providing online sales targeted training to farmers with a focus on the technicals and benefits. This is my proposal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. He Ping. Let me know. I probably is online sale is so important, and also a very, very good study. Now let me know. I invite the discussion of the Thompson, Dr. Alfred Thompson is a executive research fellow in the business school of the University of the New England in Australia. His most recent interest in including form level productivity and also innovations analysis using administrative data. And Dr. Thompson has a very diverse and also rich experiences in this area. So, Doctor, you have 10 minutes to share your observations.
Thank you, Professor Zeng, and then and also thanks, Mr. Zeng, for your presentation. Yeah, I found the paper really interesting, and it is well written, well structured, and the methodology and other sections have been well justified. So I just go quickly through the study, and then the study, as Mr. Zeng already shown, is looking at whether effectively linking farmers to markets can boost income growth and also facilitate sustainable development. This is driven by a lot of recent literature that have linked online sales to different subjects, including income growth, subjective well-being, and other different outcomes. So they did show in the introduction that compared with traditional market sales, online sales can help reduce information asymmetries, lower transaction costs, and many other benefits. So the objective is to investigate the impact of online sales on farmers' income using citrus production, which China is like one of the biggest, or is the largest producer of citrus product in the world. So it's also important. The region, the province that they chose is also plays a key role in China in terms of citrus production. So specifically, they analyze how and to what extent online sales influence the three income variables, which are net returns from citrus production, net farm income, and household income. So the sample size, it was after data cleaning, it was about 926 households from Jiangxi province. And the dependent variables, those are the three that we already discussed. They also include control variables, including the household characteristics like age, sex, gender, and then education. They also included other variables like risk attitude and soil conditions, which many other studies haven't considered. And more importantly, the instrumental variables is network fees and PSLs. So in terms of the results, they found strong and significant. They found that online sales significantly increased net returns from citrus production, net farm income, and household income. And more importantly, when they disaggregated their results, they also found that online sales have a larger effect on females than on males. So in terms of that contribution that they have highlighted is that they also consider multiple dimension of farmers' income. And then also in terms of their modeling and the variables they've chose, they also allows them to capture the spillover effect of online sales. So I found the use of the conceptualization or analytical framework to be really useful to actually understand or to see how online selling, because first thing when I saw the title of the paper, it didn't make sense to me. The channels on how online sales is more likely to impact different income, but I think the use of the conceptualization framework did help with following and understanding. And they also did a good job in terms of justifying the choice of the econometric model. More importantly, that it addresses the endogeneity issues, especially both observed and unobserved factors, such as managerial skills and innovation motivations. So the instrumental variable, they also justified it well with literature and theory. In terms of the policy implications, they mentioned that government should consider improving relevant infrastructure to support online sales, also promotion of education online sales participation for farmers by government by taking consideration the regional age and educational levels of farmers will improve online sales. I have a few comments. Some of them are really general, maybe some of them are kind of questions. So in section 1 with the introduction and also part of the literature, I see that there was a lot of discussion about the role of e-commerce, but I don't think there was a lot of discussion about traditionally, for example, how has traditional sales been in China, or at least before COVID. Because the reason why I'm saying this is, COVID-19 is likely to have driven the online sales in China, not just in China, even in sub-Saharan Africa. I know that people who were not participating in online sales are now, participating in online sales. So I think it might be good for you to maybe highlight the status of online sales before COVID-19. And also, there tend to be a lot of focus, especially on section 2 around the role of Chinese government in expanding online sales markets. Is there a role for private sector, industry association, and other stakeholders? So, because you talked about some of the largest e-commerce companies in China, are they playing a role there? Are they collaborating with government? Is there private-public partnership? So you might want to kind of highlight that somewhere there. And I just picked up small issues, like there was a few inconsistency. For example, or there was a part where you mentioned the commercialization of rate of citrus in Jiangxi province was approximately 75% in 2021. And then later I found that you mentioned was only 56%. I don't know whether that is still into 2021 or a different period. You might want to just check that. And I found you use internet in capital letters. I don't know why is the internet used as capital letters. Maybe there's justification there. Maybe I missed that. And the Peng et al. Is that an organization? Is that why in capital letters? You might just want to check that too. In terms of the methodology and data, so similarly to my previous point, the data is for 2021 production year. So did COVID-19 influence farmers' decisions to sell online? You need to highlight in the data section, or at least in the data study limitation, as the reason for the need of the longitudinal data. Because, yeah, my suspicion is that maybe this one might have been something that is happening because of COVID. So I might just wanna highlight that. A dummy variable of online sales is used to define the treatment variable. It's unclear how much of that product is sold online. So essentially, if anyone sells online, whether they're selling 10% of their output online, 90% in the traditional market, so it's hard to know. You might just wanna maybe highlight that. And then, so the discussion, as I pointed out earlier, the study implication have centered on the role of government. What about the internet service providers and other e-commerce companies? What role do they play? So I think as part of highlighting this in the literature review or in the introduction, you might also want to maybe as part of the policy implication also highlight it in the conclusion or policy implication. So yeah, so I think that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alfred, the very insightful comments. Dr. Heping, I think you have the 2 or 3 minutes to provide your feedback on Dr. Alfred's comments.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Omifel, and thank you for so many so valuable comments. And about the first comments about we should add some information about traditional sales, and I think this is a very so valuable comments, and we will improve this part. And about the searches production, and we cannot get panel data, and we just focus on the farmers. It's so hard to get a panel data. So according to our score, we just can't get the panel data. So maybe in the future, we can consider this data available. And about the second question is industrial data, and maybe it's similar as the first. Similar as the first question. Now it's hard to find some data can link to farmers and companies and the whole industry. Maybe we can consider this topic in another paper. Thank you so much. And about the third question, the data and the percentage of commercialization is differences, because in the introduction, the data is in 2021, I remember, and the data in the background, we define this value in a period from 2030 to 2022. And about the first, and about the third question, you mean we should consider more impact of COVID-19? Maybe I think it's so valuable, and according to our research, we can get some information about this. And actually, during our survey, the impact of COVID-19 to farmers' behavior is relatively lower, and maybe everyone is similar, but we want to get this information. Yeah, maybe we can add this control variables in the future. Yeah, and about the fifth problem, you mean we use the binary variable and not use a percentage or another variable, right? And because the percentage of farmers who use online sales just 15%. If we maybe use the binary variable, is more appropriate for explain this behavior, and maybe in the future we can use the percentage as the variable to get some other result. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for your so valuable comments.
Yes, thank you so much, He. Again, one of the comments from the Dr. of him about the impact from the COVID-19 on the online sale that deserve a very deeper research. From our observations, pandemic really catalyzed shifting of the physical marketing to the online sale. Of course, it's farmers not so much reacted by in terms of the cooperative and also the companies very much engaged, and also many of the long agricultural companies also shift into the work on agricultural products. So again, this is an area deserves a little bit deeper research. I think probably also will attract more interest. And sometimes also I say one comments from the floor. Probably you can take this question. What about the change in transaction costs? And saying, and also the product rejection and the price received by farmers selling online versus through the other channels. Where you take 1 or 2 minutes quickly to answer this question.
Thank you for your comments. And when we're writing, we consider this, and but when we want to analyze the cost and the marketing cost and the selling cost and so on cost about online sales, and due to when we're serving, we did not get more question about this topic, and maybe the marketing cost and the selling cost is not very clearly to collect accurate data. So and we didn't consider enough for that part when we're serving, and yeah, maybe this is some reason for we not analyze the cost. Maybe in the next part we can get more information about the cost, and then we can analyze that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hebing. Again, I probably let's say thank you again, Hebing, for your presentation, and of course, we also thank the Dr. Offing for his insightful comments. Considering the time constraints, we need to move on. Let's move to the paper 20, promoting inclusion of the smallholder farmers through the agricultural private producer partnerships in Cambodia. Our speaker is Dr. Sim. Dr. Sixin Sim is the director of the Cambodia Development Resources Institute, CDRI, Cambodia. And I want to say a few words about the doctor. Dr. Sim is currently the director and the research fellow in the Center for Policy Research in Agriculture and Rural Development of the CDRI. He joined the CDRI since 2013, and now he's leading and managing various research projects and doing research on the agricultural economic development program impact evaluation, particularly research survey with the rural farmers. So Dr. Sim, you have the 50 minutes to present your paper.
Thank you.
Yours.
Yep. Good evening, maybe good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chair, for the floor. I will start to my presentation. So our study is focused on promoting inclusion of smallholder into the value chain through agricultural, public-private producer and partnerships we call agri-PPP. So here's the flow of my presentation today: the objective, the results, the case study, and the policy recommendation. Starting from the reason why we choose the public-private partnership as the study, because our project, we focus on improving the smallholder farmers. And one of the literature show that one of the mechanisms to promote, to improve farmer livelihood is through PVP. And through agri-PVP, farmer can reduce many of challenges that cannot access to accessible infrastructure in agricultural sector. And especially in Cambodia, this agri-PVP concept is not new, but we have not have a formal framework that implement it yet. And the current practice of agri-PVP is still not in appropriate way. That's why we jump to the study. And this is what repeat what the objective of the study is, that we want to have a Ministry of Agriculture in Cambodia to promote the inclusion of a smallholder into the value chain through public-private partnership. And because this study is more focused on the policy-oriented, so we use most of our finding as the result in a descriptive statistic. So the conceptual framework for the study is we look at the relation between three actors: public sector, especially Ministry of Agriculture; private sector, the company, and the firms, or the farmer, or the smallholder, or the ACs. So the mechanism how to connect between these three actors by intervention, by contracting, by this mechanism that will be reducing, limit the issue in terms of, especially on the supply issue for private sectors. And for farmer, they can provide consistent supply, the quantity of their products, especially on the quality and the price mechanism that will be affected in current practice that don't have a binding contract or framework like PVP. So the result of the study, so we conduct survey for 120 farmer agricultural firms in Cambodia. Most of the firm located in the whole country, 23 provinces. And most we cover all the crop on the right side. As you can see that most of the product that all the firms produce, but mostly the firm that we in the data is focused have a lot on the rubbers, cashew nut, mango, paddy rice, sugar canes, and cassava, banana, etc. And for the data of the information of the firm, we separate the firm into two types of firm. One is we call production firm. This is the firm that only produce the raw material. Raw material mean that raw product like cashew or mango is just the raw mangoes. Most of the firm is more like commercial farms. So the firm produce their own product like mango, but they also buy mango from farmer or from association, from intermediate to supply to the market or to the processing firms. But at the same time, in the left right-hand side, we have a processing firm. So the processing firm is observe or buy the raw material. We call raw material is on the raw products like mango, the raw mangoes, cashew, and then put into the processing factory to become like juice or from to dry cashew and export it to the market. So this is all the information of the firm, mostly the rubbers, cashew, and some etc. But we also have animal feed for processing firms, some other like fruit, pigs, and chicken as well. So the result of the data we present into 5 parts. One is operations, relation amongst the actors, the collaboration with governments, and the 4th is the relation with smallholder farmers, and the 5th one is the opinion from the firm, how they need. So from the first operation, we look at the raw material that they're getting from. So most of the firm in the survey, they rely on only one source of raw material. So they only, especially on their own plantation. So most of the production firm, they supply to the market by using their own plantation, but they buy from other source, like only a little bit, especially from farmer or from cooperative. It's really low amount of proportion that they supply. And but when we look at, ask them about the capacity that they can absorb, they said that they have more capacity, like twice capacity of they can absorb, they can collect from current situation. It means that there's potential that smallholder or farmer can supply this amount to the company, because they still have more capacity to buy. And when we ask the reason why they cannot absorb right now, because for the production firm, it's mean that the farm is still young, they cannot get yields. The quality of product is very low. The level of capital and labor is also the issue that limit their current absorbing reason. And for processing firm, we look at, we have similar into like the trusting issue with farmers, the low quality from farmer, and the plant is not yet grows well yet on and the market's demands. So these can be implied that there's an issue in the supply side for to the processing firm, the quality and the quantity. So if we look at the relation with here, we talk about the contracting, verbal agreements or written agreements, the payment mechanisms. So this is the relation between the production firm, the commercial farm with various sectors like supply, distribution, the market, something like that. And I would show this the processing firm also. We have the blue is the relation, how much they contact with these farmers, and the yellow is whether they the agreement is verbal agreement during the buying. So when they just meet and then they agree to buy at the amounts, and another one is the verbal agreement before buying. So the agreement make before buying, but at one price, but it's not written agreement. So most of the time, the agreement with farmer association mostly written was done in the verbal agreements. So from that picture, we conclude into two. One is how farmer comply with the firm comply with payment term and price. And the second one on the quality of product and service, whether they are satisfied with the relation with this contract. So two findings we find is that the most of the time firm more than 50% of the firm, they say the payment and the agreement is very satisfied, especially on the price. However, they find it's very challenging and concerned on the quality of products, and the relation between them are not so satisfied. And for the third result on the collaboration with ministry government institute, so we look at the left-hand side, we can see that there's most of the firm connect with the Ministry of Agriculture, MAF is Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and how the role of MAF into this is more on the subsidy, providing lands, and providing some extension, connecting with AC is very still small, around 10%. So from this, we can see that the results show that MAF, Ministry of Education, have high commitment to make the contract successful. So it means that they are willing to, they are happy to make the contract between private and the firm, or even the firm with the government successful. But in terms of the firm themselves, they still not trust the MAF yet, because in terms of the quality, the capacity of MAF. So we look at the cost. The cost we come with a few.
The same, you still have the 4 more minutes.
Yeah. We look at from farm gate to transport, logistic, processing, etc. So we look at the whole process of the costings, how they cost, and we come up with the data, come up with a few finding on the labor cost is very high, that make the profit is low. And for the processing firm, the cost is concentrating on higher electricity costs, waters, gasoline, and maintenance. And for also transportation cost, the logistic cost is also high, that makes the profit very low. And they also mentioned about the certification fee, quality control, maintenance, monitoring is also the burden for farmers, for the firms. That is what the data on the cost. And we asked about the relation with the smallholders farmers. So we can see that on the left side, the color when it's going darker, it means that the certification rate, the linking with, they would like to link with smallholder farmer higher. It means that right now, if we look at how firm want to work with smallholder, they firm decide that smallholder is very important for their project, their business. But on the right hand side, if we look at the transactions, we can see that they still have the intention to work with farmer. They still very low, but in terms of they would like to expand their own product than connecting or buying from smallholder farmers. So the issue that have with smallholder farmer that make the firm, even they feel that working with smallholder is crucial, but their intention still not focus more on the smallholder for the first option. But second option, they also increase their connection with smallholder farmers. So first option, they might use their own plantation or their own capacity first, and then if there's not enough, they will buy or connect with smallholder farmers. And if we ask the opinion about the issue that they have with the supply of the product, the raw material, that we have a few.
Like the same, you have the 1 minute to wrap up.
Yep. In honesty, the quality and the capacity of this, that's also this is the problem with the MAF. So we have 2 case study with that's supposed to be the case that have the public-private partnership mechanism in it. One is Jason Bow, is the cashew nut processing handicap. They connect with PDAF, the Provincial Department of Agriculture.
应该是4点15左右就完了。
Wanning, probably you just need to unmute yourself. Yeah. You mute yourself. So Dr. Sim, go ahead.
你可能没上线。
Dr. Ma, can you mute yourself?
So we have
Go
a
ahead.
relation with, they have a relation supply from farmers and also their own farms, and they supported by other sectors, and then they export it to Japan's. But still the challenge in terms of financing and working with smallholder farmer in terms of quality is still, and the attitude of the smallholder is still challenge for them. The same with the second topics. I will come up with the recommendation in final slide. So if we look at all the data from the firm, we can see that the relation with the firm and the MAF and also the smallholder is still very limited, and the practicality is still not so good. But currently, recently, the government have issued a new public-private partnership law. So because based on that, Ministry of Agriculture, we recommend them to provide further guidelines on the public-private partnership to focus on smallholder farmer. And we have 4 recommendations for MAF. One is to encourage the collaboration stronger with private sector, improve the workflow, especially on registration process, labor shortage, and technical support. Involve smallholder farmer into agri-PPP, must put more effort on implement the contract farming or the cooperative and agriculture extension service. And the third one is on the agri-business should have more active role in the agri-PPP, and to MAF should build more trust with farmer and the company. And last is to create a PVP guideline that can the firm or the farmer can follow, especially on to make the incentive to use the cost, market access, and extension for farmer. I think that's all for my presentation today. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Dr. Sim. Thanks a lot for choosing this very interesting, important topic. Let me know, I invite the discussion, the Dr. Wei Yang. She is a senior lecturer at Lincoln University in New Zealand. She worked in this area quite a long time, and her interest area include the investigation of the consumer willingness to pay for high value added food products, farmer citizen decision making on the good environmental management practices, and also economic evaluation of agricultural project and also research. I think Dr. Yang is the right person to provide the comments on the PPP topic. Again, Dr. Yang, you have 10 minutes.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Zhang, and thanks for Dr. Sok Chen for the detailed description about the paper that you guys have been doing, and pretty happy to be here as a discussant and hope that I can provide some useful comments and information for you to improve the paper. Actually, I will skip the first slides because Dr. Sok Chen has already provided us with a very detailed explanation about what you guys have been doing, and I can see that you guys have been done a lot in terms of looking at the agri-PPPs in Cambodia, also doing some research, looking at the case studies from other neighboring countries. I would go directly to my comments. Hope that the comments could help your paper to be more publishable. So I find the topic is really important and interesting. My main concern for you to consider, just my personal opinion, is meaning about the clarity and the coherence of the paper. So I'm starting from the introduction and background and literature. You have provided quite a lot at a global context, providing us some definition and the application of agri PPPS in a global context. But you have only included a few sentences like what I'm showing you here in the manuscript to really describe the situation of agri PPPS in Cambodia. So I believe that you might need some more literature and description about the application of agri PPPS in Cambodia that will provide us a more depth understanding of such concepts and the application of that in Cambodia. And the second comment from for the intro and the literature part is about the clarity of the key concepts. So I mean, the agri PPPS is definitely the key concept discussed in this paper. And then you provide some more definition and discussion about how this applied in Cambodia. It is more toward the cooperative side, right? What you haven't provide a clear clarification is how this is similar or different from cooperatives. If it is different, and then how that is different from cooperatives and how that will make different effects or impact onto farmers who are taking part in the agri PPPS in Cambodia. Because you have focused on not just Cambodia, but also some case studies in other neighboring countries, I would like to see probably some, if there are any country-specific differences, especially in the context of the study area, in the case, the Southeast Asia context. So that would make the first part more clearer for the readers and audience to follow. And then for the literature and conceptual framework part, my main comment for that is not, I mean, you provide a really good conceptual framework, which I've highlighted. The Williamsonian transaction cost theory is one of the key theoretical support or grounds for you to construct the conceptual framework. And then you also provide some analytical models for studying agri PPP. You highlight the key components of the agri PPPs, but there is a lack of connection between the two parts. So you've proposed a really good theory, which can be seen as the theoretical supporting for the analytical model and conceptual framework. I would like to see more of the connection between the theoretical groundings and the specific context that you design for your conceptual framework, and I believe that will make this this paper more standing out. Then for the data results and discussion part, you mentioned that you have included 121 agricultural firms and that you do the survey. What interests me is what's the number out of the total publication. And this, again, this relates back to my first comments about the context in Cambodia. So this 121 firms is out of, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, I don't know, I'm just making it up in terms of number of the sample data, whether it is representative to the whole population or not. So it will be good to really have some more information about that. And the other thing comes to how do you use the conceptual framework to design the questionnaire and the data connection? Apparently, you have designed a really good survey with a lot of questions, and that the results of the questions help you to answer the question. But I would like to see, I mean, this definitely, probably this has been something that you've already done, but this is something that I don't really see from the current manuscript. So it will be great or good, better for you to really include the connection between the conceptual framework and the guidance of that framework to your questionnaire and data connection, because the study is heavily relying on the survey data and the questionnaire. And again, it comes back to the lack of connection between the theory, conceptual framework, and the results. So again, you provide quite a lot of interesting results and findings. I believe that will be very important to the policy makers and governments. But how do you relate those results and findings and reflect back to the conceptual framework and the theoretical analysis? I believe this is a very important factor that will determine whether or not this paper can be published. As we all, as academians, we would like to see the results address the literature, the gap of the literature in this and that, and etc. Right? So this will be a very important point, from my opinion, for you to address. Also, the very last point is about lack of discussion about linkage between the results and findings based on Cambodia and the other South Asian cases, because you also provide a few, 3, I guess, successful cases in the other neighboring countries. It will be good for you to really relate them together. Otherwise, it seems to me to looking like 2 separate parts of the paper, even though you have already done a really good job in terms of collating all the stuffs together. But it will be good to really have a really good cohesive or good connection between these different parts. And there are some minor issues. For example, it would be better for you to really indicate some limitations and future study directions. Probably you have some future plans to do. Also, I mean, there are just very minor issues, some grammatical errors you might be bear on your mind, and then correct them later on. Thank you very much. That's all my comments.
Yes, thanks so much, Dr. Yang. Very insightful comments. Where any colleague in this room has other comments? If not, I understand right now, particularly in Tokyo, right now is come to the lunchtime. One of you guys probably very hungry, and they want to go for lunch. Probably let's say go straight to the ending session. From my end, of course, I also want to share 3 key points. Today is, of course, this is how session the Weber talking about link the small farmers to the big market to discuss about various solutions and the policy implications. Today, the 4 papers discuss about country farming, discuss about the e-commerce, particularly in terms of the cooperative membership, how to stimulate the e-commerce, and also the other paper talking about the online sale, and then lastly, talking about the PPP. So one of them will be essential as a solutions to stimulate and also the link the small farmers to the big market. Again, of course, today is because of the time constraints, we still have the many other tools, including like the digital payments, digital financing, and of course is also machine learning and also the AI and so on and so forth to enhance the supply chain and a smooth supply chain, and also easy to organize small farmers. This is the first point. Second point, probably I want to take this opportunity to thank one of the 4 speakers and also 4 discussants. One of them discussions is so rich and also they are so insightful. I think these online discussions for the sort of the comparison loads is quite important, but more importantly, probably offline discussions to they discuss it, probably have the offline discussions and have our presenter paper writers to enhance the clarity and also the consistency, coherence, and also enhance the paper. Number 3 is for the further step. What I would suggest probably for the currently the global context, because of the impact of the climate change, and also the because of the the recovery from the COVID-19, and of course it's because of this currently we're facing the Ukraine war, the political conflict. You think about the Brexit Green Initiative just terminated, and also the supply chain disrupted, and then with this type of a new context. I would encourage probably ADBI and also our related universities look more closely on the current events and provide more timely analysis and the inputs. Just one quick example. I come back from this UN Food System Summit just last month. In Rome, and when I arrived in that is 25 July, and immediately received a number of the questions from my board members. Because there's this determination of the Brexit Green Initiative, and they quickly to asking, hey, why you are your institutes, your sector have any analysis about the impact of the Brexit Brexit Green Initiative, the terminations, and also the how this related to the current rice market fluctuations. So again, of course, we have some in-house economists is working on it, but of course we have some partners from WFP, FAO, they also provide the inputs. But again, I think many of the the type of the readily study from the ADBI and of course is our partner universities, we can have this sort of the little bit more forward-looking subject. We can jointly and work together to work on this subject. With that, probably let me quickly say thanks to ADBI invite me to attend the session, and also I want to thank the Mami as the coordinator keep remind me about the time, and also we are successfully managed the session in a timely manner. And with that, let me turn back to the chair of Dea. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zhang, for making time for us. We greatly appreciate that, despite your busy schedules at ADB, you made time for us. And I think there is no one who is better than you who could chair the sessions. So we greatly appreciate, and we would like to express our thanks and gratitude, and we'll give you a big hand for being with us. Thank you so much. And also for organizing and completing on time. Generally, like many chairs are very flexible and they tend to extend, but you have been able to discipline everyone so that we finish on time. Thank you so much for that. So I have been also assigned the task to give the closing remarks. Since we are it's time for lunch, I want to be very short and give a very short remarks, and also thanking notes. Distinguished Dean, the chair, Professor Maria Fay, Dr. Girma, who was also the speaker of the second day, and all the chairs, including Dr. Kunfen Zhang, and distinguished speaker and discussions. Thank you very much for actively participating during these last 2.5 days of our conference on linking farmers with the market. We had very interesting discussions on how to link farmers to the market. There has been 20 papers were presented during last 2.5 days, which focus extensively on how to link farmers to the markets, and what are the impacts of linking farmers to the markets, and what are the barriers that we face in linking farmers to the markets. beside like discussing on these points, I think one of the things that I would like to mention from Dean's presentations and also from Professor Maria Fay's presentations that globally there are about 450 to 500 million farm households. And these are very poor farm households who make their living on less than 2 hectares of land, and almost 50% of the smallholders farmers are the hungry farmers. So when you talk about linking farmers to the market, I think it's not only about ensuring the food security and alleviating poverty among the smallholder farmer, but also it's about ensuring the food security of the consumers, because about 80% of the produce from these small farm households are being sold in the markets, which helps in ensuring food security. And this is where I think Dr. Zhang highlighted that how small disruptions due to Russia-Ukraine conflict led to increase in food insecurity. So linking farmers to the market is not only about ensuring better well-being, better livelihood opportunity for the farmer, but also it's about providing food and nutritional security to the consumers at large. So these are the two things that I think we should note. And one of the important messages that we could take from this discussion is that, yes, the linking farmers to the market will help in improving the income, well-being, and livelihood of the smallholder farmers. And there are several channels through which we can link farmers to the markets, which include infrastructures, which includes now e-commerce and several innovations of farmers organizations that has been helping farmers to link to the market. But several papers also highlighted the caveats of not having other policies in place. For example, you may have the linkage to the market, but if you don't have access to finance, then it's very difficult for farmers to actually go and benefit from the opportunity that market is providing. So when we are framing policies, it's not only about creating the channels to link farmers to the market, but also about putting other institutions in places so that farmers is able to take the best from the market. So this is something that I think came from our discussions that was brought out repeatedly. So this is something that we all really need to take care. Without discussing more on the conference, I would like to wish all the presenters a successful publications in a very prestigious journal, Economic Analysis and Policy. And I sincerely hope that all of you benefited from the discussions, from Q&A sessions, and I sincerely hope that from 20 papers, most of the papers will find a place in Economic Analysis and Policy. So that's the wishes that I'd like to give to all the presenters and authors. Finally, I'd like to take opportunity to thank the journal, the Economic Analysis and Policy, for giving us an opportunity to have a special issue with them. Secondly, I would like to thank our keynote speaker, Professor Maria Fay and Dr. Girma Kasi, for finding time and also sharing their experiences. And thirdly, I would like to thank the session chair, Dr. Quinfen Zhang, Professor Biden Hu, Professor Vagirat Bera, Professor Alison Belli, Professor Binlei Gong for chairing the sessions, for making the discussions very productive, very stimulating discussions. And last but not least, I would like to thank the organizer. I would like to thank Dean Sonobe, who is also the guest editor and who has been actively supporting us in making this happen. Throughout the process, he has been with us and encouraging us. And even during the entire 2.5-day seminar, he has really tried to be with us despite being very busy with other meetings. And I would also like to thank Dr. Wang Lingma, who is also a guest editor and a colleague who have been actively collaborating with ADBI. I'd also like to thank Professor Binglin Gong, who is also the guest editor, and other organizers, Dr. Raja Rastimsina, Dr. Panaro Chai. I'd also like to thank two of my very dear colleagues who have worked very actively for the last 1.5 months. Even beyond that, they have been working throughout to make this conference successful. Yoshida-san and Nomoto-san, thank you very much for your support and for helping all of us, not only the organized, but the entire team. So I'd like to extend my thanks. And finally, I would like to thank all the authors, all the discussants for being with us and for sharing very, very enlightening, very powerful evidence-based research. And I hope this will translate into policies, and many of our policy makers will take into account the recommendations. And before I close, I would like to also request you all to join our next sessions, which will be at 3. We will be launching the special issue on farmers, organizations, and sustainable development, which is being published with Annal of Public and Cooperative Economics. It will be from 3 to 4. Please kindly register and join us. And then the second launch will be from 4:30 to 5:30. It's a special issue on rural and agriculture development in digital era with review of development economics. So please join us for that. And also we have several other call for papers. Kindly go to our link, and also Yoshida-san and Nomota-san has been sharing the link on the chat. Please look at it and submit your paper for those journals. With this, I'd like to thanks once again and call off the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dio.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye. See you later.
Bye. Thank you. Bye, everyone.